We often hear the advice not to take ourselves or our thoughts too seriously, that the mind is conditioned and this person we call me is just a concept, an amalgamation of thoughts. But we're also told to listen to ourselves, to trust our inner voice, to not ignore what we think or feel. So which is it? Do we disregard our thoughts as noise, or do we respect them just for being there? And can we do both? Hi, I'm really glad you're here. I'm Nusi, and welcome back to Wise Discrepancies, where we explore the seeming contradictions in what we're told and try to live with a little more wisdom in the in-between. The idea of not taking your thoughts seriously comes from many spiritual traditions. Mindfulness, Buddhism, and non-duality teachings come to mind. They teach us that thoughts are not facts, that the mind is like weather, always shifting, sometimes turbulent, rarely still. When we identify with every thought, we're dragged along for the ride. We spiral, we react, we suffer, or we just stay stuck. As psychologist and trauma researcher Bessel van der Kolk explains, the body keeps the score, and our rational brains often lose out to our emotional patterns deeply rooted in past experiences. As the Stoics would say, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Often, those judgments, those thoughts arise from things we didn't choose, our upbringing, our trauma, our fears. As Epictetus put it, what really frightens and dismays us is not the external events themselves, but the way in which we think about them. Nevertheless, identifying with our thoughts isn't the same as accepting them, seeing that they're there. As Tara Brach says, clearly recognizing what is happening inside us and regarding what we see with an open, kind, and loving heart is what I call radical acceptance. So the wisdom here might be in not mistaking the content of the mind for who we are, and therefore not taking instruction from it. As Muji says comfortingly, you are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather. But then, how can we talk about self-respect if we ignore our own thoughts? When I think of respect, I think of listening closely, taking what someone says into consideration, not brushing it aside. So when someone says, trust yourself, they often mean don't silence your own knowing. Don't betray what your inner voice is trying to tell you. Ignoring ourselves can look like people-pleasing or gaslighting ourselves or abandoning what we feel just to stay agreeable or just disregarding our own educated, well-founded thoughts on something. But does this mean every thought is a friend? I like this quote from Rumi who said, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Welcome and entertain them all." That's not the full quote, but the gist of it. There's a difference, though, between not identifying with your thoughts and not listening to them at all. If, like Rumi said, thoughts are guests, then when they arrive, they don't morph into who we are. They simply stay for a time, bring gifts or nuisance or nothing, and then go. Perhaps as a host, we're meant to stay graceful and accepting. It's also in not forgetting, I think, that the mind is a tool. In not forgetting that the mind is a tool. An interesting tool that offers commentary and reactions to nearly everything. But as we know, unless we're deliberately using it, it tends to run on habit. And maybe the constant chatter is a reminder that we are creatures of conditioning, and that, like the body or any animal, the mind can be trained. Now, there are many ways to train the mind and tons of teachings out there to help. But the key point here is that the mind and the training of it, the whole process of that, can be witnessed and accepted when it's going well or badly. As psychologist Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. And I think this self-transparency is a respectful and continuous process. And it is only when I do this, I feel that my actions seem to fall in alignment with my deeper knowing, and my thoughts calm down. So, what's wise here? Maybe it's in learning to listen as an act of acceptance, not as taking instruction, to give our thoughts space to be whatever they are. As many Buddhist teachers express, the mind is not who we are. We are the awareness that can observe the mind. It seems that what we want to avoid here is identification. Identification means we believe the thought is who we are, that it holds our signature somewhere. Imagine a book that is titled Myself with my full name and fingerprints, and it has all the thoughts I ever thought as its content to be used to inform everyone about me as a person. That's what being defined by a thought or by anything feels like. Heavy. And stepping out of identification, I think, is throwing away this whole notion of thoughts or anything as a reference to who I am, so that a mood, a reaction, a moment stays as just that, stuff passing through, not being recorded and used in a PhD thesis on me. So it seems that the real shift happens when we start to relate to ourselves as the witness of everything that goes on within us. It's a habit of being that puts distance between I and my thoughts. The I that witnesses is not the thought, nor is it the master of the thoughts. As Eckhart Tolle wrote, rather than being your thoughts and emotions, be the awareness behind them. When my mind produces reactive or unhelpful thoughts, I can witness it, as though I'm sitting with someone expressing them. And this patience I give to my own mind, to this self that is here, I think becomes the patience I can offer others. And maybe that begins a loop of kindness. There have been times when I've believed every thought, and times when I've tried to silence them all, and times when I've been angry and in argument with my own thoughts. And those times still happen, of course. What I do know is that none of those have brought peace. What has helped most is learning to relate to my thoughts as passing experiences and simply saying, okay, a thought, not me, not the entire truth, but just a thought right now, like anything else that's happening right now. From there, even in a state of deep sadness, I can often decide what to do with it, and often it's nothing at all. That feels like respect to me. That feels like freedom. That feels like facing reality, facing what's here, without being sucked into every single thought that appears or passes. Most importantly, that feels like self-compassion. And it seems that what flows from this is better than what comes of sifting through every thought for answers. As Adyashanti writes, when you sit in the seat of awareness, rather than the seat of the thinker, wisdom flows, not as something you figure out, but as something that arises. But in moments when we're spiraling, in shame, regret, denial, anger, this can feel pretty impossible to do. And that brings us back to trust, a thread I'm finding weaves through all wisdom. Trust that thoughts are not the enemy and not the master either. Trust that you can witness what arises without becoming it. And trust that there is a presence in you that is deeper than any single thought. And that presence can hold all your experiences, good and bad. If this helped you pause, reflect, or breathe a little deeper, do consider subscribing, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to be as wise as we can. And wisdom isn't about picking a side, it's about learning to sit with different truths and finding clarity in some honest reflection. And here's a mantra to take with you. Let thoughts arise, let wisdom decide. Thanks for listening. Until next time.